Hello, I'm David Hunt and welcome to The Art Hunter. My guest today, she is a much-loved Australian singer, songwriter and most recently author of a book called Book of Life. He is a musician, producer, composer. Together they've been a couple and also they perform together as well. You may have seen them in maybe your backyard performing, you never know. Now taking us on a musical journey with songs from the Book of Life, a unique theatre experience. What can we say? You know, like, here they are, Deborah and Willie. Welcome.
Thank you very much, David. Lovely to be here.
Now, we'll start with you because I think people might know who you are.
Well, one would hope so. I've been around for the Traps for an awfully long time now. 40 odd years.
40 odd years. So where did it all start for you as a musician and writing? And
so I think I was 20 and I put an ad in the paper. I would say I had been kind of dabbling with RMIT, the Archie Review. Ted Bailey turned up to one of those. I think maybe the first one that I did.
Wow.
And he's told me that he'd had that experience. It was hilarious.
Wow.
And remembered it. And then after I put an ad in the paper in 1979, got a couple of offers, joined a band called the Benders, played for 8 months fairly solidly.
Yeah.
Absolutely loved what I was doing, but didn't absolutely love that particular band, but did meet the drummer. And we forged a very tight friendship and understood that we had very similar musical tastes that we wanted to explore much more closely than what we were doing in the Benders. So we decided we'd both leave that band and run away to Sydney to form Do Re Mi, which we did. And in the 80s, Do Re Mi kind of emerged.
Yeah.
About 1981, 82, we put out an EP, and the EP the first track got picked up. It was called Standing on Wires. Alternative radio stations were playing it all over the place. We put out another EP that had the first version of Man Overboard on it, which was very punk. Not a punk thrash, not really like the album version that came out on Domestic Harmony in 1985, but it also got picked up by alternative radio. And only then, after we had put out 2 EPs, did we decide to play live. And
okay.
Yeah, it was a very unusual way to do it because we'd played live so much with the Benders, and had missed so much television, so many nights in that I was craving to have but didn't. And so it took a while for us to play live, but when we did play live, we had already a following, which was great, and we went from strength to strength.
Yeah,
really,
big song, and still to this day, I heard it the other week, and it sounds so fresh still.
Yes.
But then you went on a solo career.
So after a number of years, and we made a couple of albums, and we were kind of trying to make the third album, and then at which point Virgin decided that they didn't really need a third Do Re Mi album because they didn't like what we were writing. They didn't like the direction we were going in, and there was a bit of personal tensions within the band. So they said, "Do you want to? We can set you up with a solo career. We'd like you to make a solo record, and then we'll come back and revisit Do Re Mi." And I, short-sightedly, decided that that would be a good idea to get away from the starting to become a little bit poisonous relationship within the band. But I hadn't really thought about becoming a solo artist, so I squandered a lot of opportunity and wasted a lot of money hanging around LA and then London and then LA and trying to figure out what I was doing, and I ended up making a very, very bad dance record, which fortunately has never seen the light of day and never will.
Come
never
on.
will,
Willie,
David.
There is a single that did see the light of day though, and I believe, in some strange corners of the world you can find it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right. But you're not saying where.
I don't know. It was a cover of Bad Company. Remember Bad Company,
Yeah.
Feel Like Making Love?
Yeah,
We
good
did
song.
It was a good song until I got to it. Then it became not such a good song. Still, I looked good on the cover. But yes, anyway, it was a terrible, terrible, shocking, wasted opportunity. But nevertheless, I had all, during this time, while I was, kicking my heels back in London, waiting for the record company to release the album. I was writing songs like Release Me, wonder what that was about, and various other things. And that became the basis of String of Pearls. So by the time I was back in Melbourne, and thoroughly discouraged, well, not discouraged, maybe that's not, well, I think I was relieved actually, relieved that I didn't have to stand by this dance record that I knew that I hated, and it had been a terrible error, an error of judgment. And I came back with renewed vigour and made String of Pearls and had signed to Mushroom Records. And that was the beginning of the solo career back in 1990. I think it was released in 91. We recorded in 1991.
And what a huge success it was. And congratulations on it as well, because you know, it really does stand the test of time, those tracks. And as I said, you hear your songs all the time. You know, even in the supermarket the other day, I just got an email from you when I was in the supermarket. It's only the beginning. Really?
The supermarket loves It's Only the Beginning. They actually play a few odd tracks sometimes. I hear them in the supermarket. I think, what? Really, you're playing that? No one liked that album. Coles.
Coles, there you go.
Thank you, Coles.
Thank you, Coles.
So, Willie, what's your background? How did you get involved in the music industry?
Well, I came at it from a completely different direction. I was one of these nerdy kids who just fell in love with the guitar and thought, I really want to learn about music.
Did you study music? Or
yes, I did.
So Good on you.
I went that route and met a whole lot of jazz people at university and got involved in Melbourne's very tiny jazz scene back in my early 20s.
Where were you playing? What venues in Melbourne?
Oh, that's very good.
Tankerville Arms, did you play there?
Tankerville Arms, I did that a lot. I can't remember the names. The pub in South Melbourne on the corner of...
Oh, so many pubs in South Melbourne, yeah.
But I played with Vince Jones in those days and Paul Grabowski. So did that for a few years. But then I went to New York.
Right.
To, you know, see the kind of epicenter of jazz. And I came away from that thinking, why the hell am I playing jazz? This is not Australian music. This is not the music of now, which was the early 80s.
Yeah.
And I started getting involved in the little bands scene in Melbourne, all the arty bands that were around.
Yeah.
And played in different outfits until this one begged me to join her group.
Begged. Now tell the story, because you told it to me on radio the other week, and Deborah's here, so she'll be able to nod or shake her head.
So I do need to say I had seen Deborah perform twice. So I'd been overseas for all of 1984, and I came back, and friends of mine said, "We're going to the Jump Club to see Do Re Mi. Come along." And I went along and went in and saw them play one song, and then went straight out to talk to all my friends. So that was my first introduction.
How rude.
I know, it was very rude.
I didn't notice.
No.
But if I had.
I thought, I haven't seen my friends for a year. What do I need to see this band for? And then I saw Deborah playing when she came back to Australia after the Do Re Mi debacle, or the finishing off of Do Re Mi, and she did a solo gig at the Treasury Gardens.
Oh.
And I was there, mutual friend had asked me to go along.
How many songs did you last? One or two that time?
She's pretty good. She's pretty good, not bad, not bad. And then, probably a few months later, I get a call. "Hello, this is Deborah Conway." I said, "Oh, yeah, okay, yes, what the hell do you want from me?" And she said, "Look..."
He didn't say that.
No, well, you know. She said, "A couple of friends have recommended you as a guitar player. I'm looking for a guitar player. I'm touring String of Pearls," which I knew about. It's Only the Beginning was already a hit. "Can you come and do this tour?" Which sounds like a good deal, really, you know, big tour. But I had a single show with my little art rock band, and I said to Deborah, I can't do it. I've got to do this show. So I'm really sorry, I have to say no. And good luck with finding a guitar player. She hung up, I hung up. And she rang me back. I can't remember if it was the same, maybe it was the next day. She rang me back and said, if I put the tour off by a week, will you do this tour, you effing idiot?
I think I might have said, will you come and meet me and we can talk about doing the tour?
Okay. See, you haven't even got the story right.
So I said, yeah, look, that's possible. And she said, well, come over, we'll talk about what this tour will be, and went to her very little flat by the railway line in East St Kilda and knocked on the door. The door opened and bam, I took a step backwards, thought, whoa, what just hit me? And I thought to myself, looks like she took a step backwards too. Did something just hit her? And here we are. So something did hit us. Something definitely hit us.
It was definitely
that day.
That is gorgeous.
Yeah.
That is gorgeous. That you know, that door
Aren't we
opening.
lucky?
Well, it's as real. You know, if that stuff is real, this is as real as it gets, because we just hang around together all the time.
All the time.
Right. Okay. That's the most beautiful story. That's why I wanted you to tell it as well today. Now, then all of a sudden you start doing, and I mentioned, in people's backyards. I'm sure you weren't doing it. Were you? Did you actually perform in anyone's backyards when you would go to people's houses?
Yeah, of course.
Or was in their backyards?
Under their hills hoists.
Yeah.
Sometimes under their flight paths.
Yeah.
So tell our viewers, what were you doing?
So back in 2003, we'd had it with record companies. It was enough, and I could see that there was this wonderful new burgeoning thing where artists were doing it for themselves. There was the digital technology there was a revolution in recording gear. You could, instead of paying $2,000 a day to make to use a recording studio and an engineer, you could pretty much do something in your own home. So we were already doing that, and then there was the advent of various kinds of social media, just starting a little bit, and we could kind of see the shape of how things were going, and it was like, well, maybe we don't need a record company anymore. Why don't we try doing this independently? So after we had stints with Virgin. You had various stints with record companies and EMI and Shock and Mushroom, etc. We went completely independent, and then it was like, we knew that we knew how to record a record, went and wrote songs and perform it and all. And then I started thinking about marketing. How do you market a record? And I realised there hadn't been any new ideas in marketing forever. It was just like, take a record to radio, see if they'll play it, maybe buy them a leather jacket, a bottle of whiskey, and go on tour. And that was it. But radio wasn't really playing us because we were kind of too old, and we were too old in one genre or one way of people wanting to hear us, and in the other we were
too old 20 years ago.
Yeah, that's right. Now we don't give a fuck. And then on the other hand, we weren't kind of commercial enough to be embraced by people who liked music from older people. So we were sort of stuck in this strange, purgatory place, limbo. So I thought, how do you get into people's living room if radio won't play you? And then I thought, you walk in. And I ran into Willie. I
believe you had that idea in the shower.
I did. I had the idea in the shower. The shower's a good place to think. And I ran out of the shower. I said, Willie, I just come up with an idea. What's wrong with it? It's so easy. What happened? Why hasn't anyone else done this? And I explained to him, and he went, no, I think that's a great idea. So we just thought about it, and we could reach people via, people could reach us via email and everything. And so they just would book a party, and we would turn up with 25 CDs that they had paid for. They didn't pay for the performance, they paid for the CDs.
Okay.
But you couldn't really do that with a record company because the record company would charge you, 3/4 of the price of the CD.
Yep.
But we knew how much it cost to manufacture CDs, which was next to nothing. That was a vertiginous drop into reality right there. And so we had the means of production, and we suddenly had this new idea of being able to do it. And we did hundreds of these parties. But I just remember the first time we did it, we were standing outside the door of this little, a lovely old 1930s apartment building on Queen's Road, and knocking on the door, and then realising we had no idea whether the person who we were playing a party for we knew it was her birthday, but was she 80, was she 40, was she,
8.
We didn't know.
8, yeah.
It turned out she was 28, and it was the most magical night.
Oh, fantastic.
It was magical. We just walked in and there's all these lovely young people there, and table heaving with, delicious, really crappy snacks, and we're all kind of huddled around in this lovely, cosy sitting room and just playing music. And
it just snowballed from there.
Snowballed from there.
She's 50 now.
Yeah, she's 50.
She's 50 now.
Still here.
But there must have been a few times where you obviously don't talk about it, but there must have been a couple of times where you go, why are we here?
Yes.
Why are we doing this?
There was a couple. Not many though.
No.
Yeah.
There was one very, very bad one right at the beginning, which was a corporate gig.
Oh.
And that was a mistake.
Yeah.
Because, they just organised us to, I don't know, because
they thought this is a cheap way to get some
interesting idea.
Yeah.
And they would have spoken through the whole performance.
Absolutely.
And stuff.
Yeah. Sound was, very echoey and...
But we did do, we played for around a board table for meeting the
great.
board.
Oh,
that
okay.
was fantastic.
Yeah.
Wow. Things like that we played for teachers in staff rooms.
Yeah. Oh,
all sorts of
fantastic.
crazy things. We played for 50-year-olds in their school uniforms.
Oh yeah, we did. We did some extraordinary parties.
And around Australia, or
yes, around Australia.
Wow.
And we just go to Adelaide, or we go to Tasmania, or we go to...
We had to be on tour, and then we would do a house party.
I actually think we did Adelaide just off its own
We did, because we had so many over
because we had 11 parties over the 2 days.
Wow.
It was wild. It was wild.
And so you just take a little, your own sound system.
No sound system.
Don't need a sound system.
Oh, because
two guitars, two voices. It's like medieval troubadours,
Fantastic.
Yeah, we were just, taking it back to the roots.
And a word got around about it as well. A lot of people knew about it,
yes.
But I didn't realise
we were followed by 3 television crews at the very beginning.
Oh, were you?
They were very excited about this idea because literally no one had ever done it before.
Yeah.
It was a completely groundbreaking idea. And now they have companies that dedicate themselves to being the conduit between the client and the artist. But back then, no one, it was just, we were Robinson Crusoe.
Yeah, fantastic. So therefore, you were doing all of it yourself.
Mm.
What about your music publishing? Do you have a music publisher?
We don't at the moment.
Yeah.
We have got, it's a patchwork. So some songs are published by this company and some songs are published by this company. And
well, what about that album that you went out with?
Summertown? I think we signed the Mushroom for the publishing, but after the fact.
Yeah. Right, okay.
I think well after the fact, actually.
So therefore you might not have got a lot of the royalties from that.
What do you mean? We sold the records.
So
I would have had to pay them. The royalties, but we didn't.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
So we didn't sign the publishing deal until much later.
The music business is a pit full of vipers.
Yeah.
It's a strange. You kind of have to work your way through and go. And there are jaw-dropping moments where you just think, wow, did they really do this? Do they really do this to them?
And all that, you might go, to Sydney for promo and whatever, but they get the money back from it somehow through your record company get the money.
So I'm not following that.
Well,
question.
if the record company pays for your
trip to Sydney.
When was that?
No, I'm not. But if
that
they
was
did,
25 years old.
But no, way in the day, yes.
Back
if
in the
they would have a publicity budget, and you would have to pay them back for it.
Of course, every single penny that was spent on your behalf by a record company was all recoupable.
Yep.
Every dollar.
Yeah.
And it was
of your tiny
and it was
percentage.
recoupable out of your percentage, not out of the wholesale price, but out of your tiny percentage of the wholesale price.
Yeah, it's a tough business, isn't it? Very
I detailed
tough
it
for
in the book.
artist.
Yeah.
Yeah, details in the book.
Yeah.
We'll get to that in a little bit, but What about then going out touring? You mentioned that you would do a lot of these home parties when you were on tour. Do you, like before this theatrical tour, have you been touring much as well?
Well, COVID knocked everybody out
of course
for a sec, so it was like we hadn't really been touring.
We tried to do the first version of this show that we're currently doing in COVID.
Right.
So we had the joyful experience of going to Ararat to do opening night, off-Broadway tryout, and then it turned out as we were driving, they announced curfew, and that was closing night as well.
Wow.
Yeah,
wow.
and the whole tour was, pushed back for another 6 months or something.
We actually broke curfew coming home from Ararat.
Right. Wow.
So, but before that, I mean, every time we put a record out, so in 2019 we did a massive tour around, and it just so happened that Words of Men came out, but it was also, it coincided with the anniversary of Bitch Epic. So we did a massive tour nationally to promote Words of Men, and
that was Hamer Hall in
yeah,
Melbourne,
and threw in and we played Bitch Epic the second half, and then before that we had done the same thing with String of Pearls and Everybody's Begging. So and Stories of Ghosts we did a lot of touring around that. So look, we've played a lot.
Yeah,
we have played.
It sounds
a
as if
lot.
you have. Well, let's talk about. I was going to jump to the book, but let's talk about because you've mentioned it. This theatrical show that you put on. Tell our viewers what's that all about, and what's it called, and what's it related to.
Okay, thanks for the hint. So I can't talk about it without saying that I put a memoir out in October last year, 23. And it's called Book of Life. And then I was writing through lockdown, and
how was that experience writing the book?
I loved it. I absolutely loved writing the book. I have to say, David, it's a lot easier to write a book than it is to write a song.
Really?
Yes. It is.
Okay.
It is because you know what happens.
Yeah, but remembering all the different things, like you would have had to have kept on thinking, oh, this happened and that happened.
I was entertaining myself. It was just like a constant kind of television show in my head.
Yeah.
In a way, and because there was nothing else that we were allowed to do other than being in our house, it was a very good distraction.
I always ask when we have authors about the editing. Side of it.
The editing's harder.
Yeah.
Because the editing means that someone else, some outside person is going to come in and go, well, I don't like the way you've said this, and I don't, they say it in a kinder way, or however they say it, and I arc up every time. And then sometimes I'll
But you restructured the whole book at
a
suggestion of an editor or
I did. And it was absolutely the right decision.
Yeah.
It was
they know what they're doing, don't they? But you're giving your
hope. And I didn't know anything. I'm perfectly I read a lot, but I'd never written a book before.
No.
So, what I'd done was I had downloaded the list of songs from APRA, the Australasian Performing Rights Association, and decided to write 100 essays on with the titles of 100 songs, which was a great trick to fool myself into not thinking that I was actually writing a 400-page book. Oh my God, that's so scary. But I ended up writing 210,000 words, which was ridiculous, and most books are more like 95,000 or 75,000, so I had to chop it quite a lot. But because it was chronological, it was repetitive.
It wasn't chronological.
Sorry. Alphabetical. Because it was alphabetical rather than chronological.
Right.
It was, if you're writing a song that starts with an A, and then it's kind of the same period of time as a song that starts with the letter Y, which happens 2 years later because of the amount of time that you've taken to, write this thing. You might end up doing a lot of crossover.
Yeah.
And so there was a bit of that.
Yeah.
At any rate, it was good. It was a very good exercise to then be able to say, kill my darlings, kill my darlings. So that's what you have to do as a songwriter as well.
But what was it like having that book on the shelf?
Oh, amazing. Incredible feeling of achievement. yeah, people tell me they really like it.
Yeah.
So that's good.
That's good.
You know, like I've had some people call me up and they've literally been choked up. They've just finished it. And they had to tell me
Wow.
how much it meant to them, and it makes me choke up too,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
it's like, wow, I'm so affected that you've been affected by this.
That's lovely.
It is.
What about you? Were you reading along the way, or did you wait until the book was finished?
I had to get the dailies.
I made him.
Yeah.
Okay.
I made him.
So Deborah would do her day's work and then say, come in here,
Now.
listen to this. And
So were you saying things like, no, that doesn't work?
absolutely.
And-
We've
and
learned-
how
There were a lot more brickbats than bouquets,
We've
let me
learned
tell you,
over
Dave.
the years to be each other's harshest critics.
Okay.
Because
Good.
I think when we started writing together, it was like, oh, this is
a
fun.
little- and a cautious dance around all of that stuff,
Yeah.
because you don't know each other that well. But after 33 years, let
Hey,
me tell
hello.
you, there's no secrets left.
So you might as well go, I really don't like that.
Yeah.
You can do
You've got
better.
to change that.
Yeah, you can do better.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
You're like,
And- and-
storm
And of course,
off.
you always arc up when you hear that.
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah.
it's worthwhile.
So, okay.
He's learnt to walk into the lion's nest.
Yeah,
Whatever.
So let's talk about well, in a roundabout
show.
way,
Okay, so-
we were going
So there we were in lockdown still, and you know the editing process is underway, but we've still got all this time. We're
we
still
had
at
we
home.
had a tour organised.
Yes.
So we had a regional Victorian
Yeah,
New South
Ararat.
Wales tour.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Where else did we go? That's memorable because the lockdown started.
We did
that day.
Candelo.
Was that Victoria? I think that was part of the New South Wales.
Well, but it was all.
there was
That
a
was
lot.
that one tour.
Sale and there was a bunch of
Anyhow.
shows. About 15 shows, I think, something
Yeah.
like that. Anyway.
And I can't remember if you said, let's put on a show, or
Let's
if I
put on a
said,
show.
let's put on a show. I don't remember.
It would have been my
Actually.
idea because I'm the marketing maven.
Maybe.
Do you like all that side of it?
I like it.
Yeah,
I really
good.
like
I'm,
it.
I'm sensing that.
It's like, for me, it's like jigsaw puzzles. You know, like, how does this fit? How do you can make this work? So I liked it because we've got a book. Let's put on a show that promotes the book.
But you hadn't finished the book,
No.
but we started writing the
Yeah.
show.
Okay.
Mm.
Yep.
It was lockdown.
Yep. Why not?
Why not write a book and a
Yep.
show at the
Yeah,
same time?
Yeah. But then all of a sudden, the people you pulled in, tell our viewers, you know, like who got involved in the production of it.
Yeah, well, we called Michael Cantor because Michael's a friend of ours.
Oh,
and we've
okay.
known him for quite a long time.
And who was he for our audience?
Michael Cantor is one of Australia's great theatre directors, and we started. I mean, there was we
He was the
first met
artistic
him
director at the
Malthouse
Malthouse for
Theatre,
many years. Yeah.
and we tried to put something on there. In fact, one of the first productions of Broad,
Oh, okay.
which
Yep.
maybe you recall.
Yep.
For your viewers, it was the all-female lineup of singer-songwriters from different genres discussing their work on stage and, you know, playing songs, playing each other's songs. Anyway, so Malthouse was going to get involved, and then it was too expensive a proposition and it didn't work out. But I think we had always sort of thought about working together ever since. And so this came up, and I think we actually contacted Michael before we'd written the script. That's my memory. Or had we written? Had we
No,
written?
I think we'd written some of it.
We'd written some of the script, and yeah. Anyway, so we'd written the first drafts, let's say, and from the first draft to what we'll be performing now, what we are performing now is a much more streamlined piece. It's not that
He
it's
was incredibly
Yeah.
helpful.
very helpful in saying, no, you don't need that.
Yeah.
No, you
I
don't
mean,
need
we've
that.
never done theatre before.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
So that was
never
wonderful.
done a book, written a book, never
No.
done a theatre
Yeah, it
show.
was the-
So
So it's been a lovely adventure in a way on
That's
that front.
right.
But it's still keep
So
on
and
talking
then
about-
we got Chloe Greaves involved, who is an incredible designer, and constructed this beautiful string curtain that maybe your viewers will be able to see
Yep.
behind you,
behind
your
you,
head.
and it's she tea stained it, so it's it's like 5 metre drop or something like that, and
Extraordinary.
it's huge wide thing, and you can project onto it, and of course the projections look fabulous and intriguing and mysterious, and the lights look really beautiful being reflected onto it as well, and it's something that you can go move in and out of. It's a very kind of, it's full of personality, this stage set, and it's, you know, it's quite time consuming
They're
to
all-
put up
they're all individual
and take
strands.
down.
Whoa.
You have to
And
rake it.
The theatrical conceit is that they are, you know, the strands of a life.
Yeah.
Or the pages of a book.
Hey, okay.
The pages of the book of life.
Mm.
And then we had Stephanie Lake, the amazing Stephanie Lake.
How did you get? And who
Stephanie
is she?
Lake just felt terribly sorry for her. She realised that you can't possibly move, but let me see if I can help you here.
But she's so busy.
She's beautiful. She's such a beautiful person.
And tell our audience who she is.
Stephanie Lake is one of Australia's great choreographers, and she worked with us. Who can't
Poor thing. I felt very sorry for her.
But it was amazing.
She's
she
the
did
nicest
beautiful, and she's the
person.
loveliest
Yeah,
person, and
yeah.
she did a terrific job.
Yep.
And we're definitely past our comfort zone, but not so far past our comfort zone that people are sniggering. So that's good.
Yeah.
They're only laughing when we want them to laugh.
So therefore, you put
hope.
this show on.
Yeah.
Did you think that it was going to be a success, or did you know it? You could sense that it was going
I
to
don't
work.
know that. Did we think about that at all? I'm
That's
not sure that
funny.
I don't know that I think
We
in
thought
those terms.
We thought that people would like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We liked it.
Yeah, and we thought that people would be intrigued. And we realised that we were doing something very left of centre compared to most singer-songwriters wouldn't put on a show
Well,
like this.
I
It was
think a little bit,
risk-taking. It was risk-taking.
Yeah, David Byrne did a similar thing as well. You know, he had a show on Broadway with all his music, and all the musicians danced around him.
And did he do a theatrical based piece? Was
Yeah.
that? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I haven't.
Yeah.
What's that called?
I can't remember. It came here, but then it became quite political when it went to, and he won a Tony Award.
Okay.
For it as
Wow.
well.
Right. Okay.
So I get a feeling it's sort of similar, nothing like it, but you know, like walking with David Byrne's pretty cool thing for you guys to be doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an interesting what you brought up before. You know, did we think it was going to be successful? And I realised that it's not one of the parameters that we kind of think
Okay.
about.
Yeah.
I think because we're so used to being kind of not successful in a certain way, the easy to measure success of an ARIA position or a top shot, a hit on radio is something that gets a lot of spins, and we kind of we've gone past that a long time ago. And so what we try and do is just work to the absolute best of our ability to make the work that we can be proudest of, and then just pat it on the arse, put it out there, and hope for the other people like it as much as we do.
And it's been a success.
Well, so far it's been pretty successful, yeah.
Fantastic. I can't wait to see what's going to be next. Have you thought of anything yet, or are you too
Well,
busy
we're writing.
doing this?
We're
You're
writing,
are
yeah.
you?
Which is
Okay.
good.
Yeah.
It's always good to be writing again.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's so hard, David. It's so hard compared to writing a book.
I've got to thank you both for coming in today. It's been a treat talking to you, and I just think what you've done with the home performances and the theatrical show, you're groundbreaking with what you're doing, and you're doing it in the nicest way possible. So congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thanks for having us.
My pleasure. I'm David Hunt. You've been watching The Art Hunter, and we'll be back again next week. See ya.